Volkswagen has apologized for breaking the public's trust. Its CEO has stepped down, and the automaker now faces $18 billion in fines, all because of software it installed in some 11 million vehicles to cheat emissions testing. Now, an Oakland-based law firm is launching a class action lawsuit against Volkswagen. And today in the 4x4, we're taking 4 minutes during the 4 to take a deeper look at the scandal and its, of course, impact on consumers.
And we're joined now by Andre Mura with Gerard Gibbs Law Firm in Oakland. Thanks for coming in and taking the time. Let me get right to the lawsuit. What are you guys really saying here? That VW was negligent? Did they defraud its customers? Were they engaging in unfair competition?
That's right. The claim is that it's a consumer fraud claim, essentially that Volkswagen sold these cars as clean diesel vehicles which had certain fuel economy and performance, and in fact they lied in the course of submitting their federal emissions standards tests. So the cars are not actually clean diesel cars. Yes.
Because they admitted it, is this kind of a slam dunk class action lawsuit?
Well, they've admitted it in public, and we'll see what they say in litigation. But it may turn down to be a question of damages. How do we remedy the problem here? They may not fight liability. But it depends on what position they take in court. Sometimes companies take public positions and then try to walk it back in court.
Well, Andre, let's talk more about that. We're talking some $18 billion in fines. It's already said it's going to set aside some $7.3 billion to cover just the cost of correcting this issue, which is reportedly about half of a year's profit. So what is your lawsuit seeking? How much money are we talking?
Sure. Well, we don't know exactly the total financial harm, but we do know that there are a variety of remedies that people can seek under various state laws, depending on where they live. One option might be to rescind the contract. Plaintiffs might ask to cancel the agreement and go back to square one. Another option might be a buyback program. Those options are pretty rare, but the law may support them here. And another option is people paid a premium for these cars. They paid more for clean diesel cars than they would have for the gasoline equivalents. And so now the question is whether the law supports their entitlement to the difference in the premium price, and we think it does.
Well, and you got to think, too, Volkswagen, they only have so much money, so how much can they afford when you're talking about buyback programs or handing out money, when you're talking about the cost of just fixing the cars versus the fines? It seems like the well will run dry eventually.
Well, it's the world's largest automaker. It has said that it has set aside about $7 billion, as you said, for all liabilities. So we'll see if that covers everything. But I think it's too premature to tell. But that's why we filed our class action lawsuit. A lot of people are asking, you know, if you bought this car, if you're stuck with this car, what are you going to do? Are you going to trust a company that has been lying to the federal government, to the states, to consumers for 6 years to do right by you?
So, Andre, let me stop you there. You said it right there, what I want to talk about. You said the world's largest automaker, and I want to get into the motive here. Do you think that the motive from VW was to make more money, or was it more of an ego thing, that they wanted to overtake Toyota and become the best in the world?
Well, I don't want to speak for Volkswagen, but let me just show you one of the ads that they had. They had, this isn't your daddy's diesel. And so they just promoted these cars. They tried to corner the market. There wasn't really a market for diesel cars because they were seen as dirty cars. And they promoted a clean diesel vehicle, and they certainly tried to corner that market. And they've been very aggressive in the United States and elsewhere in cornering that market. And it turns out that they lied and cheated on federal emission standards. And these are cars that are polluting our environment. And now, unfortunately, consumers are stuck with these cars, and they still have to get to work. They still have to drive. And they're very upset, understandably, that they are participating in this environmental harm.
You are taking them, I mean, you're taking them to court. You got to have an idea of, I mean, I know you can't speak for them, but what do you believe was really behind it?
Well, it does seem that corporations act to create a profit, and that's why they exist. And so it seems obvious that if they had the technology to actually create a clean diesel car with this fuel efficiency and performance, you would expect them to do it. But that's not what they did, so you can imagine that the technology is not there. And it remains to be seen how many individuals bought these cars. The reports are about 500,000. So it depends on what the remedies are, and it depends on what state law supports. But through our class action lawsuit, we hope to get remedies for all people who are affected by this.
Andre, we're almost out of time here. Just final question: what's the next step in the lawsuit? Where are you, and what if there are other VW owners out there that want to get involved?
Well, the next step, we just filed the complaint. Our phones and contact lines have been ringing off the hook. I think, as I said before, consumers are wondering whether they want to deal with Volkswagen on their own, or whether they want to be part of a class action lawsuit, and whether they want some representation, and they have legal questions. So I think the next steps is for Volkswagen to answer the complaint or to take a position, and then it'll become a question, because there have been a lot of other class action lawsuits filed, it'll become a question of consolidating those lawsuits and then moving forward. So we're really in the beginning stages of this, and it could be a lengthy process, but with Volkswagen saying and admitting in public at least that it cheated and that it was dishonest, that may move things forward.
Well, you're not alone. I know there's more than a dozen, I think, people filing class action lawsuits across the world.
That's right.
So they jumped on this one very quickly. All right, Andre Mura with Gerard Gibbs Law Firm in Oakland. Thanks for taking the time for the conversation, Andre.
Thank you.